Oh man, are we going live 1 minute early? Is it 1 minute early? We're going live 1 minute early. We can't go live 1 minute early. What are we doing? What is going on here? What is happening? Oh, we're going live. Oh, it's live on the internet. Oh, live on the internet. Oh. What's happening here? What's all these buttons do? What do all these buttons do? Oh, I don't know. Maybe I should just click all of them. All of them. Internet! Internet. What's up, Internet? Big Pedro. First one to the live chat. What up? Mad props for being first. Tons of props, right? Tons of props for being first. Is that how that works? I think that's how that works, right? Now, I need your guys' help here for a second. Have we figured out the audio problems? Have I figured them out? Because I know the last 2 or 3 broadcasts, the audio has been awful. So I tested a bunch today, and hopefully we got them sorted. I don't know if there's a whole bunch of background noise or if I sound like I'm talking into a tin can. It has been problematic at best, and yeah, so I had to do some quick karate chop moves, a couple of snap kicks, a fireman kick right through the computer. So hopefully enough karate style judo attacking the computer here. We did grapple a little bit on the ground. We went I went jiu-jitsu this time instead of Greco-Roman, and so hopefully the audio is back to sounding the way that it is supposed to sound, and where the money has gone here into the audio side. Hopefully it sounds good, because I'm just at wit's end for today. So, and it's 4 o'clock, which means it's time to broadcast. So we're just going to go with it and see what happens. And if it sucks, I'll do what I can again tomorrow and tonight, and see if I can't resolve it. I hope I figured it out. As it turns out, the mixer versus the software is like, I don't know, what's a good analogy here? It's like trying to, I don't know, put peanut butter into a light socket. You know what I'm saying? It's difficult. It's a wet dog in a sink, you know? And so hopefully we got it going. Everybody's saying that it sounds pretty good so far. We're going to miss some of Steven. Steven's going to be missing here. Joel Gillett's here. What's up, my man? Hey, FU2 is here. Oh, he's got a new avatar. I like the new avatar. Joel Gillett is now listed as Glass Boxes. So if anybody is wondering who Glass Boxes is, that is Joel Gillett has gone with a new name to his channel to let people know. I'm not 100% exactly what they're supposed to know. They're supposed to know about glass boxes, I guess, right? Yes. Okay. So he wanted to have his YouTube channel sound more like a fish channel than anything else. JBS Marines. Ooh, I don't know who JBS Marines is. Let's take a look. Hopefully it doesn't have autoplay turned on. Oh my God, he's got Crystal Shrimp videos. Oh, you get a sub from me, guy. I'm subscribing to that. We'll see what comes up. We'll see what comes up as his production continues on. 5 months ago was his last video. Oh, but he's got coral fish videos too. All right, I'll check those out later. Okay. Punky Pam is here. What is up? Jim Meeker. Hey, how you doing, Jim? Good to see you. Donnie Hill is here. What's up? Melissa Nano, first time catching live, listening on your way to work. Oh, cool. Hopefully we don't chew up all your data here if you're on your phone or something like that. Joel Gillett says, yeah, it sounds back to full sexy. Oh, good. I'm glad to hear it. I'm glad if I could, you know, I'm working here with like a shot glass of sexy, so we can't have it be half full. We need it to have it be fully full, right? Everybody else saying it sounds nice and clear. Okay, good. So at least my work, Bruce B says sounds good. So at least the work was for something. It wasn't all for naught. Luckily it worked out. Okay, well, that is good to hear. I'm glad to hear that. And all right, well, so far on Wednesday here, we are still experiencing the nonsense weather here in western Washington. The west side of the United States is on fire. So the left-hand side of the United States is on fire. The right-hand and central side of the United States are bracing for some kind of giant storm. So I don't know which one is better or worse, but the fire is what's going on here. So not to minimize anybody's hurricane nonsense, everything is on fire. And I do have something in my neighborhood was on fire this morning down the way, but luckily we have the heroic fire department. I heard them going blazing down the street because I was like, what's that giant cloud of smoke over there? So I'm like, oh, so I pulled out my cell phone and just took a quick video of it, and then there was I heard a bunch of fire trucks just go raging down the street. And then there was no more big black cloud of smoke. So hopefully everyone's okay from that. It is Potato saying it's so smoky this morning. You couldn't see the sun. I can't see the sun right now at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. The outside is it's so smoky. It looks like it's super cloudy outside, like it's gonna rain or something. But it's actually smoke, and it is diffusing the sun into this weird orange coloration outside, like full all day long, like full sunlight is completely diffused. It's bizarre, and it's like it's stressfully weird weather. It's like super smoky, so you get like, you know, if I'm outside working, you start kind of getting tired because you're breathing a lot of smoke. Your eyes get all irritated, and it sucks. It's just terrible. So hopefully we can get these the fires put out, maybe. It's just ongoing with this crazy weather. Although they're saying that by this weekend that they're going to, well, they're not going to have the fires put out. We're just going to have the Pacific jet stream is going to blow all the wind to, they're going to blow all the smoke to somebody else, basically. So I don't know. That kind of sucks because it's, you know, it's not like a real resolution. It just means we don't have smoke here anymore. So not the best. Not the best resolution, but hopefully it'll be cleared out for rafting this weekend. We're having technical difficulties with our rafting trip this Saturday. We shall see how that works out. I don't want to jump into that. I don't want to jump into it being a sad story yet. We're going to find out what happens if we're going to be able to go rafting this weekend or not. It might be on fire. I don't know. The river might just be on fire. Who knows? Considering what's going on here, maybe it is. Maybe it is actually on fire, and there isn't much that we could do about it, because maybe the river itself is just ablaze. Candy Overhaul says it's in Montana too. Oh yeah, there's some huge as Donald Edwards is asking, is it historical fires? The fire in Montana is historical. There are well over 1 million acres on fire in Montana, and it is crazy out there. It's crazy out here. Oregon, there's a spot in Oregon called Multnomah Falls. I don't know if anybody on here has been there before. It is a beautiful spot to stop off and see some huge waterfalls. That apparently is just completely burned up. So yeah, there's a whole bunch of stuff that's just on fire that is at least mildly important. I guess maybe not ecologically important, because it will grow back. It will all grow back. But sentimentally and not a whole lot of buildings have burned down, so that is definitely the upside. When we were in Eastern Washington, you really got to take a look at how the fires are managed in Eastern Washington, because we drove through a whole burnt area where everything was burned up, like the whole entire forest, everything on the ground completely burned up, and then just a perimeter around every single house where the house was just perfectly maintained. So you get a real idea of what the firefighters out there are doing, and it's pretty pretty amazing what those guys can pull off. I have a little bit of experience working with those guys. I went out there one summer, but I don't really know all that much about it. But those guys are busting their asses in extremely hot weather. So props to those dudes. Hopefully they get some overtime check or something. Maybe, I don't know. It seems probably the only way they're going to really get any kind of reward is maybe a little extra deposit in the bank. That would be pretty cool. All about DIYs here. What's up, man? Operation 400-gallon restoration underway. 200-mile-an-hour winds from Hurricane Irma. Yeah, apparently it's got Hurricane Irma has a sustained 185-mile-an-hour winds right now. Apparently there's some an island that I'd never really heard of. I thought it was Barbados, but it's Barbados or something. I don't know. I can't. I'm sure people are super mad that I'm saying it wrong right now, but I don't even know. I've never been to the island, but there's one of the islands it's past. Apparently, just every building is flat, so that's pretty wild too. But like I said, not to diminish anything that's going on out there. Here, it's on fire. Over there, Barbuda. There we go. Here, it's on fire. Over there, it's wet and windy. But, I mean, obviously it's catastrophically windy. I mean, 150-mile-an-hour winds is insane. Hurricane Irma has been listed as the strongest ever in the Caribbean. Yeah, well, it's the strongest ever from the Atlantic Ocean side, not from the south, coming up from the south or whatever. There's all these weird distinctions of whether or not it's the strongest or not. But I get what you're saying, Cat 5, Cat 6 for sure. All about DIY. Look up natural disaster increases since 1950. There has been a lot of argument out there online in regards to the National Oceanographic Association numbers and people's misinterpretation of the disasters. From what I've looked at on the information, the natural disasters, the hurricane frequency, and all that kind of stuff has gone up, but there are a bunch of people arguing against that right now. So I'm going to say that the jury is still out on regards to what is going on, because I think the argument is still going on, and I would like to find some definitive numbers, because even the NOAA people are saying, oh no, it hasn't really changed all that much, which sounds insane to me, because I know that the water out there has gone up 2 degrees centigrade, not Fahrenheit, 2 degrees centigrade in that area, and that's why these storms are carrying so much more power now. Essentially, they're carrying so much more water. I mean, if you think about it, 150-mile-an-hour wind is problematic, but when it's 150-mile-an-hour wind with water in it, it's got more density. That's a bigger problem than just the wind itself blowing by. So Donnie Hill, in his Republican voice, climate change is a hoax. You know, honestly, I believe climate change is real from a lot of the numbers that I've looked at. It would be remiss and stupid of me to say that people don't have anything to do with it, because we clearly have something to do with it. It's a really big issue, and it's a really big problem, and I don't know if I have time to get into it today, because we're going to talk about reactors. We're going to talk about reactors in the video today. I've added a carbon reactor to the reef, which is actually going to help out, and I'm actually going to be adding another reactor fairly soon, but full disclosure, couldn't find my GFO material today, so don't know where it went, don't know where it is. Hey, man! Surprises! Some kind of surprises going on back there. Hopefully it's just a guy in little brown shorts dropping off something for Vicky, and not some weird creeper. There's been some creepy stuff going on around in my neighborhood here, other than just the fire and the smoke. I think some of the crazy people are going buck wild. Oh, Mellow Moogle, what's up? Oh, and Jennifer J. Sarchicino, I forgot to say hi to y'all. Good to see you guys coming out today. And Bruce B., I think I missed you too. I like to say hi to everybody. It just feels right. Mike Simmons, what's up, man? I forgot to say hi to you. Wushu Jimmy Brown, I'm course I forgot to say hi. Sorry, we had a whole bunch of people here at the beginning that I missed out on. But I'm trying to keep up on the chat, make sure if I can keep reading it here. That's why I'm looking at when I'm over here. I'm looking at the chat to try and read all the stuff that's going on. But all about DIY. I'm glad to hear that the 400-gallon is going to get restored. That is awesome. Hopefully it was just a minor leak and you guys are able to reseal it and put it back together. That's a mammoth tank, man. It sucks when a big tank like that breaks. Hopefully you guys can get it fixed and it be reasonably, be just, you know, just a reasonably small disaster. For some reason the chat keeps dropping out of this video over here. The technical problems shall continue. Just ongoing. Fires in Southern California. Yeah, the whole West Coast is on fire. So yeah, I think we're caught up on the chat. Oh, Sergeant Tank. Hey man, what's going on? Jeremy, how you doing? Just go break up some rusty nails. Oh yeah, I mean, I just got to get some more GFO material. I don't know where mine is. It just, I have a big jug of it somewhere and it wandered off. I don't know where it went. I'm assuming that I pulled it out and put it somewhere for some reason. Not 100% sure where it went. I picked it up and like set it somewhere, but I spent like 15 minutes looking for it today and couldn't find it. While I was looking around for it, I did some extra organizing in the shop here, so hopefully Victoria's happy with me cleaning up my messes a little bit. So hopefully that's cool. God, I'm always bumping into this desk. Sorry about that, guys. I know it comes up on the mic. Donnie Hill saying, all I have to say about it is definitely happening. The only debate is if it is caused by man or just natural evolution of the Earth. Well, yeah, so I guess back to the little climate change talk here for just a second, just to step in for just a second, would be that it's clear to me that we're contributing to it one way or another. If you just look at the sheer number of people burning stuff every single day, just the billions of cars, the billions of the billions of people worth of industry going on every single day, that has to be accumulating to something. The astounding amount of stuff that goes in to just operating the Earth, there has to be something going on. When 9/11 happened, when the Twin Towers in the United States were blown up by those airplanes and the airplanes were all landed, it changed the environment for the day because no airplanes were flying around the planet anymore. So clearly we're doing something. We are doing something to it, and we may be accelerating it and whatnot. And I realistically think, just as the human race, we should probably get past the... This is how I feel. I feel that we should get past the conversation of who's right and who's wrong, right? I think that we should step past that and just go like, well, are we doing it or aren't we doing it? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether we're doing it or not. It's still happening. And I think we need to step past that conversation and go, how do we prepare for the future? How do we prepare for the future if it's going to keep going this direction? How are we going to keep doing what we're doing if we're going to keep going, if we're going to keep surviving on the Earth? You know, as George Carlin said 40 years ago or whatever, we don't need to worry about saving the planet. We need to worry about saving humanity on this planet. The planet doesn't care. The planet went through a $2 million year period where it was just on fire, and guess what? The planet was still here. It didn't care. It doesn't care what whether we're here or not. There still will be a planet. So I think the conversation needs to continue along the lines of, what are we going to do? How are we going to live here? How are we going to have enough air, water, food, and all that kind of stuff? And let's just focus on doing that. And if it means getting rid of gasoline cars, okay, then let's just do that. So, you know, but the arguments will go round and round. Big industry will continue to pay off lobbyists. We don't have a system where the people get heard anyhow. So we'll keep riling away at it. And my resolution has always been this, and I'm happy to put it out there. is that as long as our government continues to be run the way that it is, with the very small amount of people operating our government, with our representative republic that we live in, the United States is not a democracy. It's a representative republic. As long as we keep going this way, nothing's going to get done. Things won't get fixed, and the people won't ever be heard, right? It just won't. It just won't. It realistically won't. It just won't get better. I'm sorry. It's gone about as far as it can go. We do have the technology right now. I'm currently talking to at least 2 or 3 people on different continents right now, live. So we have the technology now to be able to easily have everybody vote on all the kind of stuff that we want to go on, figure it out, and just move forward. And just, you know, we don't need an executive branch. We don't need the Supreme Court to do this stuff, when we could get the vote from everybody, and we would just move forward. You know, we wouldn't need the Supreme Court to review whether or not 78% of the population said don't do this or do that. You know, we could just take the votes, and if it only had 42%, guess what? It doesn't pass. I don't know. It just seems pretty simple to me. So, but because those kinds of resolutions, realistically, if the people are voting on them, it get filtered out pretty quickly. The BS, the nonsense. Uh-oh. Lecter Records likes fish, not politics. Well, I like both. But either way, I think with the catastrophes and stuff that are going on right now, I think, well, that's why I'm mentioning politics, is that I don't think that there's going to be much resolution to the natural disasters that are going on right now, which I believe that fish and our fish tanks are about. The ecology is one of the biggest parts of the reasons why I do fish tanks, which is why I think about politics in relation to the world that we live on. So that's why I kind of kept it to that. When I talk politics on here, I'll talk to them in a real broad terms of the things that I think need to get done, so that we can try and prosper as a people moving forward, especially with the ecology of things. So, oh. Yeah. All right. Well, either way. So, moving on. Like I said, I lost I lost my GFO. I don't know where it went. It went somewhere, so I was unable to hook that one up today, and get the other one in line. As you guys will see in the video here, the whatchamacallit. The reactor is hooked up, and the other reactor is just sitting there waiting. I actually plumbed this together so that I'd be able to hook the other one up readily once I either find my JFO or go pick up some new. So that in the meantime I can run the carbon, the charcoal, as most people refer to it, the carbon reactor, and get it going. Get it going for sure. So here comes the advertising. I know people don't like it. I hate the advertising. The goal is to completely get rid of advertising on this channel and not have anything to do with any of that stuff. So the reason for that, the Patreon channel right here that I just posted up in the chat, you guys can go there and contribute. You guys could be like Karen Ellis yesterday and super chat if you like. You could also go to darkstararts.com, which I don't have a link for, and I have to go down to this weird keyboard down here. What the? And you could go to the Patreon. You can donate up to $1 or $100 million. You could go to darkstararts.com and use the Amazon banner on there and buy whatever you want. It doesn't charge you anything. It does contribute to this. Or the easiest way to do it would be to like, subscribe, and come here and chat, and or send me emails or all that kind of stuff. There's a whole bunch of different ways to support and we can keep going with this weird conversation format thing I got going here. We have a bunch of people contributing to it. And we have a bunch of stuff coming down the pipe. I'm constantly working on this to improve it, try and get it better. You know, we had Potato Bro and Sarah here, and Vicky, and we're going to try and get more people on here, so it's not just me constantly rambling on all by my lonesome self here. We will hopefully have some collaborations going with some more channels and things that are happening here in the future. We'll see how it goes. And hopefully I'll be heading out to some conventions here fairly soon, and being really intrusive and shooting video of people that probably don't want to be videoed, right? Just creeping up on people up out of the bushes at fish conventions or whatever, just popping out all weird and scaring the hell out of people. So we'll see how it goes. Whether or not I can fund the time off for that remains a question, and we'll see how it goes. Let me check up on the chat here. Yeah, okay. I think we're caught up on the chat. All right. Cool. Yes. All right. And let me see what where's the thing? Oh, the button's over here. All right, so moving on to the video segment. I know a lot of people are always mad that the video segment comes in the middle, but the video segment comes in the middle. This is just where it is. All right, so you see here at the beginning of the video, I actually have two reactors here. I got one old one, I got a new one. That's the new one on the right hand side there has the little red inserts inside of it. I believe I got that one for $23. I got that one for $23. I believe it's how much it was on Amazon. It's a Two Little Fishes reactor, and they work really well. You can order them with a pump or not. Mine was $23 because I ordered it without a pump because as I'm sure you guys know, I have a boatload of old pumps lying around, so it was like, oh, I'm not gonna need another pump, no big deal. Which of course I had to make a trip to Home Depot to get a stupid 5/8 to 1/2 inch hose adapter, so I still had to go somewhere and get something, which is totally dumb. And I was also had run out of vinyl hose, so I had to go get a roll of vinyl hose. But luckily Home Depot is actually carrying some of the nice, really flexible kind of cheap vinyl hose, so I actually got 20 feet of it for $8. So I feel like that's a pretty reasonable cost, especially coming out of a retail place. You know, for 20 feet of vinyl hose, that's pretty good. And then, but sadly, the as you can see, the white adapter there I have, it's like this white plastic one. It's like 4 times as expensive as the blue plastic ones, but they didn't have a 5/8 inch to 1/2 inch hose adapter in the blue type. I had to get the white one, so that's ridiculous. And they also didn't have any of the snap-tight hose clamps. You can see one of the little snap-tight hose clamps there, sitting just to the right of the red piece there in the video. Which, why didn't I edit out this part where nothing's happening? Oh, there we go. But those little snap-tight connectors, they didn't have those at the Home Depot, which I thought was weird. I thought it was odd that they didn't have those there, and the guy at the store just looked at me like, why would you want those? We got metal ones. And I said, it's going to be in salt water, man. It'll react with the water, and I don't want that. And then he looked at me and he went, you wouldn't do it underwater. And I was like, oh man, thanks, I gotta go over here now, I can't deal with you. But they didn't have them there, so eventually I'll have to just order some online at some point in time. But they did have the adapter I needed. It just was the more expensive one. That clear one was more expensive than the blue one. So when, as you guys can see here, I'm kind of just going through the process of taking the reactor apart, filling it up with some media. Here I'm filling it up with a little bit of, and this is water coming out of my roadie here. Sorry, my DI filter here, to just kind of knock some of the dust off of the carbon. the dust isn't that big of a deal. I just am a little bit anal and like to knock off some of it. Always remember when you're hooking up a reactor like this to pre-fill it. You want to pre-fill it ahead of time. It can get a little bit chaotic if you don't fill it ahead of time. As Donnie is saying here, he uses zip ties for clamps, as do I. Although I don't like the one-time use of the zip ties. So those plastic clamp type ones, you can actually just pop them off if you ever need to pull a hose off or whatever, and just reuse them. So I like the reusability of those ones versus the zip ties myself. So, but like I was saying, be sure to fill this up when you put your media in. Fill it up with water. You'll have trust me when I say you'll have a little bit of a chaotic experience if you try to fill it up with the pump. If you have everything in there where it's just clear inside. I don't recommend anybody to do what I'm doing right here when I blowtorch my hose and stuff like that. I constantly blowtorch stuff because I'm very used to doing it. I don't recommend it to other people. What I normally recommend to other people is boil a pot of water if you need to either heat up hose to either put the connectors together or any of that kind of stuff, or heat it up to slack it out and get it to be straight in the direction that you want it to go. Just dip it in the just a pot of hot water for, you know, just a couple minutes. Just leave it in there for like 2 minutes. It'll be fine, and it won't screw it up. It's really easy to start a fire with a torch, obviously. So, you know, be careful, because half of the United States is on fire, right? So that's the reason I would say I don't recommend to people to do things necessarily the way I do, but I will include them in the video, especially when I screw stuff up, which honestly, I screwed up a couple times here, and it was mainly just cutting the hose the wrong length. I had to just kind of recut things ahead of time. You guys can see here that I'm putting a T in, which I'm not going to use the T later, but I wanted to size this up so that when I do put the T back on, everything is ready to go. So I'll have my hoses all on and everything in place once I'm going to be running the 2 reactors off of the 1 pump. I may end up doing them in line, but the reason that I'm going to do it with a T like this is because I'll be able to adapt the speed of each reactor. So the GFO needs really slow flow. The carbon needs kind of middling slow flow. You don't want this to be chaotic. That little pump I have there is a Rio HF, I don't know, HF something, 6 maybe? 8? I'm not sure. I think this one does 660 liters per hour or something like that. It doesn't do a ton. It's not a big high-powered pump. It's just a little utility pump. I like the Rio ones myself just because they use a lot less electricity. They're more efficient. Oh, look at that editing there. See that quick editing break? Had no zip ties, then suddenly had zip ties. I had to go get them out of my truck. All of my zip ties were in my truck, and the last thing I wanted to do was go outside, because staying in the fish room is actually pretty nice, because I do have a big fan blowing in there on me, so it does stay pretty comfortable in there. Joel Gillett says you can also support with the Chupersats. The Chupersats. Oh, Chuper Chat. Surprises! And you can always do surprises if you like. So happy to say that this all came together fairly well. It took me quite a while to actually get a shot of it up and running. I couldn't get it lit very well down in here, but I did figure out a resolution, so stay tuned, because there will be an actual shot of it in operation here after you guys get done watching me do something that probably everyone has done, aka stick a pump into some water. I understand this part's not that interesting, but I did have a couple little snafus firing this up. The old pump had something stuck in the impeller, so I ended up having to pull it out and kickstart the little buddy. But after that, it's working fine. That's another reason I like these old these Rio pumps. They do have problems from time to time, but generally they'll run pretty much forever because they're running off magnets inside there, and they'll pretty much run forever if they don't have stuff caught inside the impeller. The impeller is that little magnet piece that goes inside there, spins around, and shoots the water out. I really like them because they work for a really long time. HC Aqua's here saying Amazon has those nylon clamps. Yeah, that's what I was saying. I'm going to have to order some of those nylon clamps off of the Amazon. Oh, speaking of Amazon, if you're going to order those, go to Dark Star Arts first and click through the Amazon banner. Or go to your favorite charity out there and click through their Amazon banner. I always try to point this out to people. Hold on, let me pause the video here for just a second. I always like to point this out to people. If you don't want to go through my banner, I fully understand that. But make sure you're going through somebody's banner before you go buy stuff at Amazon. This is very important. Every time there's a pop-up ad or something like that, where you're just like looking around on Facebook or Ello or whatever, social media or whatever you guys do, if you click on an ad or something like that, they'll get the advertising fees from you having clicked on it. Okay, so I can't click on my own Amazon link, so what I do is I actually click on when I go to Amazon, I'll click through the DAV, the disabled veterans banner, because I can't click on my own link. It would be kind of counterproductive if I was anyhow, it doesn't work if I click through my own, whatever. So when I click through a charity before I go to Amazon and order stuff so that those guys get the kickback. So it's, people know about like Amazon Smile, you know, which will donate like $1 or $2 to your charity since you ordered something. This is better because they get some of the Amazon money. Right? And instead of those crappy advertisers that advertise those pop-up ads and stuff like that, even the stuff at beginning of YouTube videos and stuff like that, if you accidentally click on like a Chevy ad or something like that, they're gonna get your phone or your computer will save a cookie that essentially says that you were there. And if you clicked on whatever one you clicked on a long time ago, I'm sure you've accidentally clicked on something else. So if it's not me, go to a charity, okay? Like I said, I go to the disabled veterans before I go buy stuff on Amazon. Obviously, I'm going to tell you guys to go to mine, but if you want to go to mine, cool. If you don't, go to someone else's. Just make sure you do something before you go to Amazon, just to make sure. Ooh. Sorry, I'm drinking a whole ton of water today. I had some coffee, and I think I got my phlegm going or something. Or it's hell's smoky outside. It's hell's a smoky. So yeah, as I was saying before I interrupted myself, oops, hold on. What am I doing? There we go. So I had a couple of problems firing this up. Like the impeller had some stuff in it. But I finally did get at least some decent video of the flow rate in here. So you can see all the little shards of charcoal moving around in there. This is inert charcoal. This isn't stuff like out of your fire pit. This is inert charcoal. It's essentially the same as in fresh water. Olympia Shrimper, he's asking, maybe you already answered this, but what does the carbon reactor do? This is for a reef. Yes, this is for a reef. You can also use this in fresh water. This is something you can do in either fresh or salt. You can use reactors on both for any of the media things that you want to do. And we'll get into that in just a second. Potato answered it pretty readily there in the chat. The carbon just helps clean up impurities. It's impurities from the water. It's not going to do anything for ammonia or nitrite or nitrate or any of that kind of stuff. It's just going to help pull any of the impurities that are floating around in the water. It's not as big a deal in fresh water when I do have tannins and stuff like that going around in the water, but the impurities in a reef tank can really affect your corals, because all those impurities and things and detritus and stuff like that kind of floating around in the water column will just get built up in the water column. There's really nothing you can do about it other than run a charcoal reactor, and it'll really polish the water up real nice. And the big issue is that the corals are going to essentially can be affected because the light spectrum that they're getting is going to be the wrong light spectrum, just because of all these little things floating around and kind of filtering the water a little bit, which is kind of a concern in my tank because of how deep it is. It's a 30-inch deep tank, so that's a bit of a distance for a lot of the corals to be getting their light. So this is kind of important to me. Also, aesthetically speaking, it makes your tank look super sexy when the water's all nice and clean and clear. It can get foggy looking and stuff like that just because of the crap that floats around in salt water. The reason that it does float around in salt water, people get really confused by this, is because there's so much salt in the water. It's essentially, here's the easy way to describe it. It's thicker than fresh water, right? So it has more surface tension than fresh water does. So it'll actually hold things more readily in the water column, and that's how skimmers work. But we'll get into skimmers in a later video, maybe next week or something like that, because I do need to talk about how I took out one of the skimmers and how I am just operating one now instead of two. So Olympia Shrimps is asking, how often do you change the carbon? You can basically change the carbon once it stops working, is essentially the deal. So as far as polishing, the easy explanation there would be, as far as polishing the water, you're not going to get a whole lot out of it after like a week or something like that. In a freshwater tank, it's not that big of a deal just to leave it running and change it like once a month. In a saltwater tank, it can become a problem because you could build up a lot of detritus and end up with a bit of an ammonia spike because of all the detritus that could build up in that stuff. So I'll end up changing it out over time and then just let it run empty. And then I'll refill it whenever it's time to polish the water. So like when it comes time to air quote change it, what I'll end up doing is just dumping it all out, let it run just empty, and then when it comes time to polish the water again, about once a month is essentially when it needs to be changed. When it needs to be changed when I need to add some in, I can just add some in about once a month, polish the water up, and then take it out 3, 4, 5, 7 days later. It's kind of loosey-goosey. It doesn't need to, it's not one of those things that you need to like, oh my god, it's been in there 20 hours, I need to get it out immediately. I'm not so concerned about it, but it is nice to have it in there. I know a lot of people that actually just let it run for the whole entire month. They'll just leave it in there, although it's not doing much by that point. Oh, the aquarium cowboy is here. Oh, and one of our fan favorites, Eve Daigle. Eve Daigle, what up, my man? How's it going? We're working on carbon reactors today out here in the hot heat. Roger Deadham's asking, I own a Bashea reactor, but I don't miss it. Collects dust in the fish room. Oh, okay. I'll have it if you don't want it. Let's see, HC Aqua is asking, so where does all this stuff, aka, well, you didn't say this, but I said this, where does all this shit go? With the air quote stuffs, he called the shit stuff, go in the freshwater, it just sinks? Yes, as a matter of fact, all of that, which in freshwater, we commonly refer to it as mulm, right? So the fish doo-doo, all that mulm down at the bottom, well, it just ends up sinking. Whereas in salt water, it will suspend itself up in the column, the water column, and actually be floating around and stuff. And through the surface tension is how how a skimmer operates. Essentially, so if you think all those bubbles created in a skimmer, that stuff will get caught on the bubbles, right, and get moved up, and then it falls into the collection cup. So that's a real quick explanation. Like I said, we'll maybe do an in-depth video of screwing around with the skimmer next week. I'm still trying to figure out which company made this skimmer, so I think I might end up taking a picture of it and like posting it up on Facebook, because all I have is the lid. symbol that is left on it as the only identifying deal. And I remember I went through this a couple of years ago to find out who made it, and a couple of people had the answer, so hopefully those people still exist and have not died or anything, like in a fire or a hurricane or anything like that, and hopefully it worked out. Hopefully it'll work out and I could figure out who made this, because the company doesn't exist anymore, and I can't remember if it was Innovative Aqua Designs or who it was. I may have so many like popping around in my head, and like I said, that company doesn't exist that made that skimmer anymore. So, but hopefully hopefully I know some fancy people that might be able to replicate the design. The real basic design on this one is what I really like about it, and how well it works because of its basic design. So all right. So, all right, it seems like we've answered all the questions. Seems like we've got through the super chats. Oh, the Aquarium Cowboy liked it and shared it. Thank you very much, man. It's realistically, this doing all this stuff comes up to you guys liking it, sharing it, and doing all that stuff. I have to be honest with you. I have sort of taken a hiatus from watching too many YouTube videos. I watched a couple today. I watched Aquarium Co-op and a couple other ones out there. And honestly, I rarely do I watch fish videos anymore, probably because of my own mental state. I'm one of those people that will get in the mindset of going, what in the hot hell? How does this person have 1 million subscribers? And that is just one of my own deficiencies. And, you know, my initial response is just so negative, and all I want to do is just rag on somebody for being terrible, which is why I don't normally talk about that kind of stuff, because I have that response, and then I do my damnedest to walk away from it, if you know what I'm saying. So that's why I don't really self-promote too much, other than on here. I really don't post things on Facebook or any of that kind of stuff anymore. But my whole point for explaining that, I guess, was it comes down to you guys. Like, if you guys like it, share it out there and do that kind of stuff. People like Nisi and Joel Gillett and you know, Corey and Jennifer Sarchicino and you know, Cicla Bro, and all you guys go out there and you share this stuff out, and we get an opportunity to grow the channel a little bit. So you know, my whole point, I guess, all comes down to that. Donnie Hill has a question non-related to today's stream. You couldn't get to yesterday. Oh, okay, cool, man. Throw your questions out there. I guess the worst thing I could have said was, if you put your question up there, just been like, no, I'm not going to answer that. I am fully... So, one of the reasons I do the channel this way now is because I like to have this conversation instead of just making a video of me acting super cool and you know, hey guys, here's all my super victories. Blah, you know, I like to show you guys the stuff that I screw up on, things that I've messed up on. I like to actually have this conversation and actually set aside. I set aside an hour of my day to come on here and do this, and I hope you guys appreciate it. But that's why I'm doing it this way. A lot of people have been pissed about it. I mean, you know, earlier today I saw somebody who had a 45-minute just sitting in front of the camera talking to the camera video, and I started asking myself some questions that I really shouldn't be asking, and I had some negativity in my head. So I went outside and sat down in the lawn and meditated for a couple minutes until I realized that I'm being stupid. So I stopped doing that. Let's see here. Let me catch up on that. Oh yeah, Jennifer secretly thinks that sometimes too. I don't normally verbalize the how kind of negative I get in my head, you know, comparing myself to others or whatever, success wise or whatever the hell it is. But I really, you know, I really try not to, and but it does come up for sure. Let's see. That counts as my chatted Lurkers Unite. Oh. With the hashtag Lurkers Unite. Let's see. Donnie Hill says, I have a few red tiger lotus plants. One of them shot a stem to the top of the tank, and I've read I should trim it off to keep it from learning it can do that. Any truth to that, and why is it doing it? Okay, we got a few things to answer here. Okay. So let me think for just a second on how to answer that. Because it's doing. Okay, so you can trim it, all right? You can trim it back, and that will hopefully help. That will hopefully help to propagate it out to spread an area, but that won't necessarily teach it that it can or can't do that. It can assist in spreading outward. Essentially, if you're trimming the top, it's like an animal is coming and eating it, right? So what it's going to do is try to grow in a direction where it's not going to be eaten as much, right? The big deal is with that is it's reaching up to the top to try and get, it's essentially trying to get the free carbon that is in the air, right? That's essentially what plants want to do. The most optimistic place for a plant to be is in essentially a hydroponic situation or an aquaponic situation where it's in a real nice substrate with a lot of water flow, and its roots are down there in heavily fertilized wet area. Obviously, for some plants, this isn't it's not an all-inclusive thing, and then the leaves and everything to be up above the water line and out in the air, so it's able to freely pick up carbon at any point in time, and with all of the fertilizers it's able to get from the water. So that's essentially what a lotus plant is trying to do. It's going to pick up a lot of free carbon from being up onto the top of the water level up there. Now, one of the easiest things that I did in order to keep my lotus from like fully extending was just to up the level of CO2 that I had in the water, and it doesn't have, and realistically that will stop it from reaching really far in order to get what it's going for. I mean, that's what most plants are trying to do. They're trying to get at nutrients and things that they need in order to grow. So that is essentially what it's doing, and the easiest way to get around that. Whoops, I forgot to turn the video portion and go back to, oops, clicking buttons. So the easiest way to do it, I would say, would be to just add CO2, and that'll help. Actually, they'll grow much redder, stronger, and stop reaching as much. You can trim them; it will work, but bear in mind that if you are trimming plants like a lotus plant too much, you'll have a tendency to send them back into a dormant state, and then you'll have to wait for the bulbs to repropagate again. So a simple explanation here would be, so you have this plant fully reached out here, and then that part gets eaten. Most plants will hold a lot of energy down in their roots, right, in case of something like this happening, right? Then it will be able to regrow really rapidly. And then if you trim it again, it doesn't have that reserve energy anymore because it's used that reserve energy up to regrow that new portion. So that's what I would look out for. That is the easiest way to, for instance, eradicate plants within your landscape that are undesirable. Like we had a tree that we eliminated, and Vicky sort of didn't believe me. She gave me the skeptical eyes, like, what are you talking about? But we trimmed it back, let it regrow, trimmed it back again, and then it was just sitting there like, until next year, and then it started regrowing again. But that's the thing, is that, like, come the next year, it had picked up enough nutrients out of the soil and stuff that it was able to regrow again. But that was next year, so we had this like 6-month period where it really wasn't doing anything. And why in that period where it really wasn't doing anything, we could have dug it out of the ground. We could have essentially dug it up and gotten it out of the ground, and that would have worked pretty well. Jenny Lee with the super chat says she's glad she found our channel. You're amazing and inspiring. Much love to you and the hashtag #AFishFam. Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate it. All your guys' super chats, all the Patreon subscriptions and all that kind of stuff, all just go right back into producing more of this stuff. More videos and being interactive and like answering your guys' questions and stuff. Eve Deigel saying, I'm actually surprised that Corey at Aquarium Co-op has only 80,000 subs. He should be in the millions. Agreed. I think he should be in the millions. But here's one of the difficulties. Dudes have trouble getting into the millions. Unless you have, unless you're putting real clickbaity thumbnails up and stuff like that. I think dudes that are just talking have a bit of a difficulty to get up into the millions these days. But I agree with you. I think Corey should be in the millions, and I hope he does get to the millions. That would be amazing. I'd love to see that. Aquarium Cowboy says, thank you for doing these streams. Hey, you're very welcome, man. I love being here. It's a two-way street. You guys are here. I'm here. Thank you for coming out. Eve Deigel Corvus, I've watched a video where the author was saying that excessive use of activated carbon can strip water of trace elements and can lead to bleaching and the death of corals. What do you think? Okay. That is a possibility. That realistically is a possibility that you could get to that point that you got going on there. You could get to that point where you end up realistically, but you would have to be so aggressive with your carbon. You'd have to be so aggressive. You'd have to be changing it like every day and constantly going through that and all that stuff. I have a lot of fish in my tank, so there's not really going to be a shortage of nutrients for my coral. The bleaching would typically come from if somebody has never run carbon in their system and their water, essentially they never really had any experience with their water actually being clear. Too much light will actually get in and bleach the corals. If they've been growing in a situation where they've had, I guess murky water is probably the wrong way to describe it, but muddy water, really. You know, if they had water that is diffusing the light a lot, they could have grown and been adapted to a much lower power level than what is going to end up happening is essentially overnight, the lights are going to be like, you know, I'm not going to throw a number out here, but they're going to be extremely brighter than they were the day before. And that bleaching typically comes from the lights. So with like LED lights that I have them dimmed way down while I do this, and then I'll ramp them back up over time. So that's realistically, I would say, the biggest concern that you have if you're going to be running carbon is that the water is going to be a lot clearer and going to let a lot more light through, and that's typically where that bleaching comes from. It's pretty rare that salt water would be so far gone of nutrients that the corals would bleach in that way. But as one of the videos that I mentioned last week, I'm feeding reefroids now to my corals. I'm actually direct feeding to my corals, so that helps out a ton to make sure that all my fine filter feeding, like the Goniopora that I have, are able to get a little bit of nutrient. Mine was starting to recede back in because it wasn't getting enough food from the actual system that it was in right now. Didn't really have too much to do with the nutrient and the water column. It had more to do with the food. So Vicky came out and she's like, you don't like this coral anymore? What are you gonna do? Like, what are you doing? And I'm like, oh no, I fed it, because it instead of it being completely open and trying to grab stuff, once you feed it with the reefroids, it goes and does this for a little bit, and then over the next couple days it starts opening back up. So today you can see it's much more open. Well, not you, but I could see that it was much more open, and that's the kind of thing that could easily mitigates the corals not getting what they need to get. Water testing, making sure things are correct, that I have enough calcium, magnesium, strontium, A and C, and all that kind of stuff is pretty easy to test for and dose. Dosing is like, you know, nowadays dosing is just so easy that you can even have it automated pretty much these days. So that's the thing that. So I guess hopefully that answered that question. I'm not sure. Hopefully that did. And Joel Gillett had to go again. I don't know where he's going. He's just so busy with the TPS reports at his office that that's kind of the deal. Let's see. Donnie Hill is roughly at 2 bubbles per second injected CO2 on a 75. I would actually, Donnie, I would actually get a CO2 glass tester to see what your level is at, because you might be gassing off, or it might not be diffusing properly within the water column. As you guys know, I use a reactor that is a hand-built, made my own reactor for my CO2 in the 240 that actually runs in the sump. Just to make sure that I'm really getting CO2 into the water column, that it is dispersed into the water column. Let's see, Jenny Lee at Nisi of the North. How come you changed your name? I like the name Nisi. Jenny Lee, this is my new chat-only channel. Oh, oh, Nisi has a chat-only channel. Oh, okay, digging it. The Aquarium Cowboy, I just want to thank all of you for subbing and getting me to 95 subs. Hey, that's awesome, man. Everybody in there, get him past 95. Let's get him past 95 and see if we can't do that. There's at least 5 people in the chat. You click on the Aquarium Cowboy there and check out his channel. And let's get him up to 100. That's a good goal, right? Getting to 100? That's a good goal, and that'd be awesome. Nisi of the North is a fish fam joke. I figured Carlos number 3 wouldn't translate. I like Carlos number 3, though. I like that better. Donnie Hill says, more background on the tank. You have the Finex Planet Plus, root tabs, and dosing easy green and iron. Yeah, I mean, realistically, I would say you pretty much have everything pretty solidly in there. Just bear in mind that Tiger Lotus can just be a huge pain in the ass plant. I will tell you that. Tiger Lotus can just be a WTF, you know, a what the fuck plant, where you just yell at it and just go, what is wrong with your face, you stupid plant? They're really easy. They're really finicky. They just can be prolific growers or just a bulb that never does anything. It's a really weird plant that way, and can be surely problematic in a lot of weird ways, and they just piss me off on a lot of occasions. They've grown pretty good for me on a lot of occasions, and so like I said, sometimes you just got a 50-50 with them pissing you off. And I've had some grow really well and sexy as all get out, and I've had some that were just like, dude, what are you doing, bro? Like, I had one that just did this little thing in the corner. I was like, what? But I've had them do a lot of weird stuff. But I've never cut the lilies off of the my personal tanks. I have trimmed them back on a lot of other people's tanks. I like them being up and whatnot, just because I just like them. I like some stuff going on the top of my water up there at the surface. There we go, not the top. Some things at the surface of the water, other than duckweed, obviously, or anything along those lines. I'll typically eradicate those. But it's nice to have the tiger lilies up there, because they're not going to get out of control. So, you know, if that makes sense. Let me see. Well, there aren't that many Carloses, so, you know. Thanks for the shout out. Thank you, Eve, subbed you back. Jessica Tam, just let me know. Uh-oh. I don't know. What am I supposed to let you know? Oh, here we go. Jessica Tam, hi all. Donnie's using an atomic inline diffuser on the return of your canister. Yeah, I mean, it sounds like, sorry to stay on this Tiger Lily comment, but it sounds like you got pretty much everything in line. I would maybe just look into seeing how the CO2 is actually diffusing into your water column. I would get a glass tester and make sure that you actually have that running not in the blue or the green, but nicely in the yellow during the lighting period. So make sure that it's turned off during the dark period. But I would just make sure that it's running. I would get it testing and make sure that that you're able to test. Sterigene repens pisses me off too. That is not tested, and everyone knows. News here, so that is a plant that constantly pisses me off. Jessica Tam is asking, am I streaming from my phone, and what kind of mic do I use? No, I am not streaming from my phone, but we are streaming on what's considered low latency here, so it's not streaming right now at the 1080p that it is being recorded at. So later on, it will upload in a much clearer version. Once it's processed, it'll upload as an actual video, and you guys can check it out if you like. Right now, it doesn't broadcast at this super high rate, because I can actually interact with you guys. If I up the quality of the stream, it is much more difficult to interact with the chat because I'll end up being lagged way behind you guys. So I'd end up being like talking to people like a minute later instead of being able to respond pretty effectively. Now, the microphones that I use, there actually is, I do have a video on here. We did a stream that was all about YouTube channels, things that I screwed up, stuff that I bought that I never needed, things that I needed that I never bought. But no, I don't stream from my phone very often. I do sometimes when I'm out and about in the who's you what's it's of the world or whatever. But if I was to recommend a microphone for your phone, I could recommend the Rode. Rode sells one that is Rode sells one. RODE sells a microphone that will actually hook right into your headphone jack, unless you're one of those janky iPhone users. Good luck. iPhones don't have those, and you have to buy a $300 lavalier mic that works through a Bluetooth. But you know, if you're a fancy iPhone person, then you probably got that dough, right? And that's what they're thinking. But Rode has a lavalier, or has a mic that will actually hook right into the jack right here that actually works fantastically for streaming. If you're going to do that, always just make sure that you're hooked up to Wi-Fi, and that will help. You can actually watch some of the videos that that Vicky and I streamed from Alaska, where the cell service isn't that great, and you can see just how grainy the video is and all that kind of stuff. So what did Nisi do? Nisi said something and then she retracted it. Oh, retracted statements. Crafty. You making statements when I'm not looking, and then you retract it. But I could always look it up later, because y'all's chat is in the video. Let's see. Hard Cheese says hello from London. Epic beard, by the way. Well, thank you very much. It's a little out of trim, a little out of sorts. Got to do some manscaping. I also got to get a haircut, man. This shaggy mess is getting nonsensical, and I'm pretty sure Vicky, as we talked about earlier, my little bit of sexiness is wearing off with my shaggy do here. So got to do some manscaping. Got to do some hair trimmings. Jay Friends, what's up, Jay Friends, man? It says I have a visually soft look right now. Yeah, it's a softer look for the stream, you know, and for people watching in the video format later, that they get those hard edges, if you know what I'm saying. All right, well, we are at the hour mark, and I don't think anybody posted a extendo I don't think anybody made the wild demand to extend. So we'll get to the wrapping up phase. Oh, Nisi. So she's saying, she's laughing because the video quality is great. No need to bump it up. Well, we actually do 60 frames a second. 1080p is what is being sent to YouTube, but I have the lower latency setup, so you guys can actually chat pretty quickly. I think you guys are only like 9 seconds behind me with the low latency setup. So the video quality is better once it uploads once it uploads and gets processed by YouTube. It's improved video quality. So just at the end here, I want to throw in the Patreon one more time so that we can get those so we can get to those goals that we got. We got lofty goals. We got huge goals. One of the goals we have is a 22,000 gallon aquarium that would actually be built into a shipping container that you guys would be able to A, check out on YouTube, and B, we would eventually be able to take it out on the road and bring it out to some of the conventions out there, depending on who would want us to come. If somebody said, hey, we want you to come, then we would. Sorry, I'm bumping the table. I'm getting uncomfortable in this chair. But we would be able to bring it out to places like Denver or wherever, LA or Missoula. I think we might go to Missoula at some point in time. But that's the big goal. That's the huge goal. We're trying to hit that goal. The much smaller goal would be to get rid of all the advertising, to essentially get rid of any of the advertising that is put in here by YouTube. A lot of you guys know I've been sober for 3.5 years over here. As a matter of fact, let's check the counter. Going to the tape. He's going to the tape, folks. 1,212 days sober, as you guys know, and one of the things that drives me nuts is seeing alcohol ads, just because I'm like, dude, what the how is this even targeted? How is this even targeted? Do you know anything about what's going on around here? But just as an example, right? Just as an example of how irritating ads can be. It's like me sitting through commercials for Playtex, tampons, liquor, and crocheting needles or something, you know what I mean? It's just crazy, so I'd like to end up getting rid of that. And as you guys know, a lot of these videos are fan funded, like you guys contributing and chipping in and saying, hey man, I need help with this, that, or the other thing, and then we can work on that kind of stuff as things go on. I've added in the newest contribution, the newest part of the Patreon here is that we have at the $100 level is the producer level, where people can, I'll actually make as a request a whole video of your choice, you know, at the $100 level, at the producer level. The rest of the levels are all fan levels and all that kind of stuff. So I don't ever want anything here to be behind a paywall. That's not my goal. My goal isn't to have anything be behind a paywall or commercials or any of that kind of stuff. So this stuff is sponsored by you guys, which is why I think it helps me maintain my cavalier attitude at companies just slapping their name on some kind of product and saying that it's good because it has their name on it. You know, I will give you guys an honest review of things that I get in and I actually use, and not be swayed by some giant company that tells me yes or no or what I should or shouldn't do, which is a road that I've gone down. I'd like to say I was fighting for you guys, but I was essentially fighting for myself to be able to tell people to F off when they say, hey, we're a big company, we tell you what to do. And I just say, no. Right? And so that's kind of the whole jive here, right? That's the whole jive, the jive turkey jiveness. Jennifer's the Viagra commercials. Perfect example. I don't want to see Viagra commercials. I don't need to know about any of all that. If I really did have erectile dysfunction, I'd go talk to my doctor about it. I wouldn't watch. Oh, what's a dumb show? Columbo or something, and hope that the commercial breaks could give me an answer to my erectile dysfunction. Hey, FU2's gotta go eat, man. Oh, you gotta go eat. We all gotta go eat. I gotta go start dinner. I gotta go start making some dinner for my lovely lady because she's, I'm sure, on her way home. So, the Aquarium Cowboy says to extend, but as you guys know, after we get past the hour mark, it realistically starts becoming a thing where it's occupying a lot of my time, and we do have the super chat extension thing. But this is an hour long, and we'll be back tomorrow, though. We'll be back Monday through Friday, 4 p.m. to 4 p.m. Specific Standard Time is what I like to refer to it as, which would be an hour and 15 minutes before. So we did stay on a little bit longer. I am happy to do the kind of things to come on here and talk to you guys for sure. So that's going to be the thing. Nisi is asking, what is for dinner? Tonight is going to be chicken piccata with some wild rice pilaf with cranberries and, oh, sorry, not cranberries, craisins and sunflower seeds. Then, so the chicken piccata, pilaf, and asparagus. So that will be the trifecta for dinner tonight, which will be going on, and I'll probably eat an old piece of pizza while I make it. So that'll be super helpful and healthy. But let me run through the Patreon patronizers real quick before we head out. Anybody give a shout out to all these guys because I didn't see many of them today. I saw some. We saw some. At the top of the list, Aquarium Co-op with the $250 mark. Nobody else is near that. Let's be honest. Corey is definitely contributing to getting my silly ass on here every day. At the $20 mark, we got our buddy Long Woo and Steven Skoglund. At the $10 range, we got Joel Gillett, Jack Betts, Cichlid Bro, M. Den Hollander, otherwise known as Just Bobs. At the $5 mark, we got Kyle Wildewelt, Kevin Hayes, Gene Fensky, Sashimi Whiskey, Jennifer Sarchicino, Matt Gilmet, Karen KZ Ellis, and Karen KZ Ellis. Down at the $1 range, we got 3D Reefer and Matthew. Two Matthews down in the $1 range. And special thanks to everybody. And I'd like to say a special thanks to Jenny Lee for your super chat today, and Glass Boxes Joel Gillett for your contribution. If you guys haven't checked out, Joel Gillett's channel, he has no recent activity, but he does have some old videos from like a month ago. So check those out. Why not? And be sure to check out Jenny Lee's channel. Her channel's probably coming along better than mine. Looks like she got a bunch of videos. Well, no. Well, I guess those are all like a month ago. These are all from 1 week ago. But either way, check her out for sure too. And I'll be heading off into the ether to go do some cooking of some chicken. All right. Leftover lasagna. Jennifer Yummo, Miss Lasagna. Need to find gluten-free noodles. Oh, man. Gluten-free noodles. I'm not gluten-free, guys. I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't do ketogenic or gluten-free. It's not going to work. But I've luckily been able to say thank you to everybody. And it is a lovely Wednesday. So let's don't forget to like and share the videos out, right? I'm supposed to say that. I'm supposed to say, like it and share it, like you guys don't know. Like, of course you guys know. If you liked it, you'd share it. Or if you shared it, you'd like it. Wait, how does this work? Blast it out there on Facebook or whatever. All right, guys. Have a fantastic night out there. Stay safe and quit lighting off fireworks if you're the jerk-off that keeps doing that in the middle of the night. Just go jump off a bridge. It's much more exciting. And it won't burn my house down. All right. Later.